that Facebook kicks in. The Facebook live
Hmm.
feed always takes a little while to drop in, but yes, yeah, this, yeah, like I said, we were talking just a second ago. Yeah, 12-week year has definitely been a exciting for me because it it's a periodization. People go, oh, you're just tricking yourself, but it's thinking in that in those periods, and it does help. I and some of the milestones that we'd set through
Yeah,
just working with you, the forge, the vision work, uh, has definitely met that meant that I can make resolutions that I feel I can keep.
that's powerful. That's
So
really powerful.
yeah, yeah.
The regarding the 12-week year, I know that's not our topic today, but I love the book.
yes.
And I don't think there's much tricking yourself involved. I think it's more like moving from waterfall development to agile development. But it's almost like moving to an agile calendar, a
Mhm.
calendar one quarter the length of the previous calendar. All right, let's iterate. It forces you to think in iterations.
Mm.
And I think it's very hard to be unhealthy when you're forcing yourself to think in iterations. Like that's
Mm.
one of the healthiest things that I can do for
Yeah.
myself. And I have several people, including you, to help me do it. So yeah, I fully approve of that.
Yeah, that's very cool. You just if you're watching this and wondering what's going on, I've just gone live in the drop-in event. I'm excited as always. It's good to have good friend, mentor, coach Jeremy Pope joining me. And we've got other people coming in. So I know I'd sent out a sort of a flyer teaser, letting people know that Jeremy will be joining, and we'll be having a conversation. But don't let that stop you from joining us, listening in and connecting. It's the one to one. It's the drop in for the one to one thing. One to one thing is my podcast. I guess Mr. Whiskey always tells me to promote myself, which I
Huh.
do very poorly. It's all the one to one thing's a podcast about conversations. Jeremy's been a guest. Awesome conversation that we had, and it's conversations at work, in your family, relationship environment, or just with yourself. And some of those conversations are key as well. But
Yeah.
you know, Jeremy had mentioned that we've been working together over the last. It was before Christmas, so it's been a little while, and we've been working on sort of this beliefs and visions around leadership, and it's sort of culminated into a leadership framework called the Forge, which I love the name, by the way, Jeremy.
Thank
So
you.
thanks for that. But
I'm working on taglines now, like the tools for your journey or
mm,
something along those lines.
yeah, because it conjures for me the making steel, making things out of raw materials.
You can make a
And
lot of things in a forge. You
yeah,
can make jewelry, you can make swords, you can make a plowshare. There's a lot you can do in a forge, depending on the tools you have available in that forge.
yeah, yeah. So that's very cool.
Hmm.
Um, Justin's joining us. Justin, how you doing?
Good. Hello.
Good, good. Justin, meet Jeremy.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, sir. It's a
You
pleasure.
too.
Justin Best. I used to work with Justin, Jeremy. We go back. He was the reason I call my show the one to one thing. That's what
Nice. Okay.
we had.
I have not known Steve nearly as long as you have, I imagine. It's been what, 2, 3 years now, Steve? Something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But he is one of my favorite people. So
Yeah.
thank you for thank you for working with him and helping prep him for, all kinds of other relationships. It sounds like you've been influential with him.
Yeah. I guess so. He's been
That's cool,
influential
man.
with me. I'll say that.
Likewise.
Yeah. Iron sharpening iron is a classic
There you go.
example of that right there.
Hmm. Yep. That's a forged concept as well.
Mm,
What is
mm.
Bucky, Justin?
It's the convenience store in
Oh. I thought it was Bucky's, but
It
Bucky,
is.
yeah. Okay.
It is. But this is the shirt is Bucky Beaver is their mascot.
Oh,
for what-
right. Okay. I didn't see the word down at the bottom there. Okay.
Yeah.
I went by one of those on my trip down to take my then fiance to see my parents, and then we got married just, I guess, on the 15th, so about 3 weeks ago. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we were at a
Congratulations.
Bucky's on the way down and on the way back up. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hot brisket on the board. Yeah.
It's so weird, man. This place is one of the wildest and weirdest places I've ever seen in my life. It's
Yeah,
like
where-
Tractor Supply and a Cracker Barrel had a baby in a Hobby Lobby. And
Yeah.
then they put a giant gas station outside with 150 pumps. I'm just like, what is happening here?
It's
so
it's a
wild.
monument to American retail obsession.
Yep. It's fascinating. They have made it into a movement, Steve. Bucky's is
Wow.
one of the weirdest things I have encountered as an American. Like, it doesn't fit any of my previous experience as an American. And it's a cultural phenomenon. It's wild. Mhm.
Where are you at, Jeremy?
How do you spell it?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I drive
Okay.
down to almost Tallahassee, Florida to see my parents.
Okay.
And so driving down I-75 through Georgia, that's where we hit one.
Bucky's. It's like this, but with an S at the end. It's a gas
Mhm.
station, but it's so much more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have
So there's no K in. There's no
Nope.
K in it. It's
Correct.
just BUC.
It's a
Okay.
gas station with a gift store and 5 different restaurants and the cleanest bathrooms you'll find for 100 miles.
and then some. It's that the bathrooms is part of their shtick. Like
Yeah.
nice, clean bathrooms, and they're just massive. I mean,
Yeah.
the closest one to me, well, I don't know, the newest one to me, I'll say, the only one I've ever been to is like it's in Missouri. It's like 200 miles away.
So you have about 6 billboards in your town, in other words.
Along the highway, yeah, going that
Mhm.
direction, yeah.
They literally put up billboards all along the major highway saying only 213 miles to go.
Yeah.
Like, they have
Yeah.
figured out some wild marketing stuff. It
Yeah.
is so fascinating.
It is very, I mean, and just being there is fascinating. Like from that perspective, like you said, with the marketing, like
Yeah.
they have a statue with this squirrel or whatever beaver
Mhm.
outside, and people will like go and take their picture with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's nowhere else. It doesn't mean it's not Disney. It's not like,
Right.
it's only these gas stations, and it's exploded.
They've turned
crazy.
a gas station into a mall / food court / theme park for redneckism. Like it's totally fascinating.
It's
They
very
are a
fascinating.
category designer in the gas station mall. We don't know what to call it kind of world. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. That's interesting to be known for your bathrooms, for someone to sort of, because it is a noteworthy, it reminds me of Seth Godin's Purple
Mhm.
Cow. You know, that concept of you want something that's remarkable. And it almost doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be
I think
remarkable.
what they did was find all the remarkable things and mash them together with no thought to rhyme or reason or coherence.
Well, and they, I mean, here's another remarkable thing. They pay their employees like bonkers. Yeah. Like you think about working in a gas station.
Of a gas station makes $125K a year minimum, like starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, their team members make pretty good. I mean, for what it is, they make pretty good money. I want to say like 25 an hour or something to be just like a basic team member. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty strong for working at a gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in 2025.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Yeah.
marketing lessons to be had from Bucky's and culture lessons as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so wild.
See, that flips the script by saying that I work at a gas station. You don't even say you work at a gas station
Buc-ee's.
when you work at Bucky's. You
Yeah.
say I work
Right.
at Bucky's. And that's a whole
Level of
nother
respect,
level.
right? Like it's a stat. It could be a
Yes.
status thing almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
I
like
didn't
saying
mean
I'm a
to
cast
spark all
member
this
at Disney or
conversation
something.
from the shirt. Sorry, but
Yeah, no, it's
It's a great
fun.
conversation, though.
I'm starting to
No, that's
notice beliefs embedded in everything.
mm,
For a long time when I was doing clinical hypnosis, I would think about beliefs when I was sitting in my chair and they were sitting in their chair, and that was the thing. And then maybe when I went on a podcast or something. But Richard is saying, how do I join with my webcam?
it's the link is in. You could. Can you send in the link from your that I sent you
Oh,
in Messenger?
let's see.
You see,
Yeah,
do
I
you
can
message you?
send that. Let's see.
it's on.
Yeah.
It's on the post you did yesterday, Steve. That's how I found it, of course, on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
And
But I can put it in the chat here or something. Okay.
yeah, yes. You can put it in the chat with him, and then he can go straight
Something
from
like
there.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see.
All right. Well, I don't know how to do tech support on this, so that'll be the end of my help here. But yeah.
All right. Oh, you put it in the
I
private.
got
You
it.
put it in the private
I
chat.
got
Okay.
it. I got it.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
you got
Justin.
it. Thanks. Yeah, Justin's turning into my
Nice.
I'll be sending that invoice, Steve.
Right.
Yes, I'll be giving you the producer entry, so you can.
There you go. But noticing beliefs everywhere now that God has told me, like, lean into beliefs hard. Starting to notice them in everything, even in conversations about Buc-ee's. Like, what kind of cultural beliefs are there to create that kind of phenomenon? What kind of marketing beliefs are there to believe that it's worth putting up a billboard for $1,200 a month along the highway 213 miles away from the nearest location? Like, how did they arrive at these very firmly held convictions to be able to take that bold of a stance? It's a bold kind of thing. It's so difficult to describe because it's so bold in so many interesting ways. And so I mean, I think that plays directly into the conversation we were going to have around the Forge, is how do you believe something so strongly that you cannot let yourself down? There's that saying, we don't rise to the level of our training, we fall to the level of our training. Like, our training is what supports us when we have no energy left, when we have no external systems and scaffolding left, when we have we don't have faith left. The training supports us. But how do we build that training in the first place? Well, we believe in something hard enough to sacrifice for that thing, to sacrifice training time and sweat and hurt ourselves slightly whenever we pump iron and do all that kind of stuff. And it's like seeing companies who are bold, who have succeeded, especially in a cultural way, like an internal culture kind of way, like Brisket on the Board kind of. That's one tiny little touch point for culture for Buc-ee's.
Right.
It's a visible, it's an audible touch point, so customers notice that. But it's one glimpse into the employee world of Buc-ee's right there, the entire cultural landscape that they've obviously built there. And it's like, how do you believe in something that hard? How do you build an ecosystem that lets you believe in things that hard, where there's no other gas station in the entire country that would agree with you, no other gas station owner or shareholder board that would agree with you that it's a good idea to put a food court, a mall, a giant concrete mascot out front, 130 gas pumps, not counting the truck area, and like have a full-time bathroom attendant and 60 on-staff employees at any given moment. Like,
at any given location.
At any given location, yeah, 60 people. Like, you look around and count uniforms, you can often very easily count 60 staff uniforms at one time in that crowd of 600 people. I mean, it's like
they're packed.
It's
wall to wall.
It's shoulder to shoulder all the time. And this is a place with an entire aisle full of pickled things, like pickled okra, pickled quail eggs, pickled this, pickled that, and it's right next to the jerky aisle of all the different
Oh yeah,
kinds and flavors of jerky.
that's the
It's
packaged
weird.
jerky. Not to mention the like custom, like they have a custom jerky, like
Yeah,
I don't even know, like a display case kind of
yeah,
thing. Like you go and they will just like, yeah, it's
yeah.
wild.
How do you
Wild.
arrive at the kind of vision and belief that lets you pull that off long enough to make it work? And
We need a
then,
documentary.
right? Oh, I'm sure there's a Buc-ee's documentary. I'm sure there's a Buc-ee's documentary in the works if there's not one already published. But
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. It's fascinating.
That is crazy. There's a lot in there because a couple of things that came out when you were saying that. What level of belief? 213 miles away from the venue, you're putting up
And
a
it's not
poster
one.
saying you're
It's
230.
maybe a
Right.
dozen of these billboards that you encounter on your way on that one highway.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, and so I'm thinking, oh, you don't start at 230, you don't start at 213 miles away. You might start at 5 miles away. So you start with
Yeah.
point is belief can be
Amen.
incrementally, and then the other part of it is that when the belief is being built, that it engenders trust in your customer.
Mhm.
And the customers they don't have to believe what you believe, but they trust what you believe.
They trust that you believe it as well.
That
Yeah.
you believe it, yeah. And that gives a sense of certainty, or a sense of comfort, that is again an intangible goodwill
Yeah.
component of a business. I mean, I worked at John Lewis. I worked at John Lewis for a couple of years when I came back. One of my breaks, and I came back. Hey, Tony, I came back to the UK from the US, and thought I'd be back for a few months, and end up being back for a few years.
Mhm.
And I worked for John Lewis, massive, major, high level retailer in the UK, massive employer, and they engendered a trust in their customers that was far exceeded in goodwill. It was tangible. I mean, I don't know how you recognize goodwill in the bottom line of a business, but it was palpable.
Mhm.
And like you're talking about Buc-ee's now. I mean, it's interesting that conversation just came out of the
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Thank you for that T-shirt, Justin.
Thank Buc-ee's.
But
Yep.
that's what belief does. That's what belief does. It, like you said, you trust people believe in what they believe, and that engenders a sense of certainty around what you believe.
Yeah.
Or how you associate with that business. But Tony, meet Jeremy. You know Justin already.
Nice.
Tony's another UK like me,
Mhm.
so that's good. Got a couple in the house, and I don't know whether you caught much of the conversation before joining, Tony. But
I didn't know you had anything to
talking
do with
about
John
this.
Lewis, but it's definitely true. I think they swapped something. I think we got married 20 years. I don't know. We went in and we said, "Oh, we didn't really like it." They said, "Oh, I have a new one." I was like, "Oh, okay." It's like literally there was. I said, "It's not broken. They just don't really like it." And they went, "Oh, I have a new one, a different one." It's like 20 years later. I mean, that's probably why they got a few problems, and we weren't really even asking. So we just sort of went in and looked at the toasters and came out with like £170 worth of different toaster that we hadn't really expected.
Yeah.
So John Lewis does a bit of everything, right?
Yeah, that was one of their finer moments.
Yeah.
Not actually got a real problem, not really expecting them to do anything. It surpassed all expectations.
That's a raving fans moment right there, when they just find a way to make a special moment out of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. There is a company in the US that is famously used in many marketing people's literature and trainings and coaching and things like that. It's called Nordstrom. and they're kind of famous for they're a clothing retailer, I guess, clothing, jewelry, perfume, things like that. It's a department store, but it's not, they don't serve food or anything like that. And maybe some home goods too, but it's like one of the fancier stores you might find in an average mall in the US. And they are renowned for that type of behavior as well, or they were 20, 30 years ago, long enough to make it into every marketer's vocabulary of like great customer service stories and things like that. So that's, I never realized John Lewis had that same kind of cachet in the UK. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, creating that belief and vision, and that was something that my little teaser for this week's drop in, and having Jeremy join us was our discussions, Jeremy and I's discussions around one of his leadership programs. It's not a pitch; it's just a conversation that we've had. And I was sharing when I came on that I'm in October of my 12-week year.
I love the book, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. It's fantastic. Yeah.
And it'll be Christmas in a couple of weeks, and it's interesting because it's having a 12-week year means I set resolutions that I can look forward to accomplishing. I don't put things off because I've got a shorter period. And it's interesting what Jeremy said about it being very much like
it's like an agile approach to the calendar.
Agile, yeah.
You shorten your dev time, you sandbox things really responsibly, you use very short sprints. Yes, Sandra, yes, that kind of story right there. I'd forgotten they had tires. Yeah. So they do more than I remembered.
Alaska.
Yeah. But I'm finding beliefs apply to everything, and they are kind of at the heart of everything as well. I haven't found anything more important than beliefs so far. And whether it's identity-based beliefs or whether it's, there's Richard. All right. Welcome, sir. Whether it's identity-based beliefs, which are arguably the most important, or how you perceive the world kind of beliefs, or whether it's beliefs about certain ideas like agile is good, agile is bad, depending on your experience with the idea of agile, or whether it's iteration is good versus perfection is good, things like that. There's a belief or a series of beliefs that we have around every single thing in life. And if we're not getting the results that we want, well, A, do you know what you want? That's the vision part. And then B, do you know what you believe about this that is causing you to act in a certain way, that's causing you to get a certain result that so far you don't want? All right, well, we have an action plan now. Suddenly, change the beliefs, clarify the vision, maybe not in that order, clarify the vision, change the beliefs, and it will flow outwards, upwards, downwards from there, and you'll get where you want. I have a small story about that. The Forge, what you originally encountered as 731. I called it 731 at first because it was 7 visions, 3 tasks, 1 belief. But I changed the name 3 or 4 times because 731 is not particularly memorable. It just sounds like a Boeing airplane that they decided not to publish, which if Boeing decides not to go forward with an airplane, you know there's nothing good to be had here. So with this process, it was writing down my vision every single day, and writing down what I believed about that vision, those visions every single day. And within 4 months of starting that, I had met my future wife. I had a couple of visions that sounded like it's May 2027. My wife and I are slowly traveling the world, doing face-to-face masterminds and starting new chapters of the Engine Room. It's August 2027. My wife and I are enjoying living in our first earth sheltered home. We are building our second one with the lessons we learned from the first, and we're in paid planning for the refuge in the rainforest, the semi-sustainable village in the mountains that we want to build. And after about a month and a half of writing that down, like I had it memorized, I still haven't memorized, every day, and having it thrown in my face by that habit of writing it down, it finally got through my skull and my ADHD, which I'm quite time blind. I don't notice things until the last minute most of the time. But keeping that vision in my face all the time, and then what do I believe about it? Do I believe healthy things or unhealthy things, limiting things or unlimiting things around that? Having that in my face every day for a month and a half, I finally realized I don't have a lot of time, because I don't know anyone that I would love to have as a girlfriend, much less a wife. I need to start asking around and getting my friends to help me start meeting some people. I need some matches here, and I'm not going in the cesspool that is Tinder or Hinge or anything like that. So what am I going to do? Like, this is a low volume pipeline here. So having the process in my face all the time and the vision in my face all the time, I finally started asking, hey, do you know anybody? And the first or second person I asked is now my wife. Shanielle, I've known her for over 2 years, but we never noticed each other in that way. She's cute and all, but we never had any idea that we were each other's person. And this would not have happened if I had not been putting my own vision in front of me every day so that I could take action on it. And it made all the difference. So, yeah.
And it's a great story, and I'm honored to be part of that journey, because
Yep.
we were doing some of that.
You've been there the whole way. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, that envisioning through writing, and not just writing the statement in a future tense as you looking back on it, but also having some sub questions in terms of what do we believe and what are possibly limiting beliefs about that vision. And I did the same thing with my mom's trip for her birthday.
That's true.
And Jeremy even sent me a couple of images of couples and people on top of Eiffel Tower, where I see me and my mum being. And I'm so, actually, it's funny because I'll be in Paris on a Wednesday. Her birthday's on the Monday, or 7th of April. So I'm, depending on what I can carry with me, I may actually do the show from there. If I don't do the show, then I'll definitely post us on the top of Eiffel Tower, because that was the vision I had last year. So it's beautiful that like Sandra says, your subconscious, your unconscious or subconscious can be trained for that. It's that reticular activating system kicking in. You're bringing things into attention, and then you align the rest of your thoughts, behaviors, beliefs around that.
Make sure your mum isn't wearing steel toe cap boots when she goes through the Eiffel Tower security.
Good point. Let me just make a note of that.
This sounds like there's a little story behind that.
There was people laughing. There was people collapsed in fits. I was taking everything off, and I was saying it was my boots, and they were going, "It's not your shoes." I was taking my belt off, and it was just taking so long that people that was previously annoyed had settled down, and know. Anyway, it was lovely. The Eiffel Tower, fabulous. Enjoy.
That's great.
I never thought about security at the Eiffel Tower, but that makes perfect sense now that I think about it.
They're good on protecting that particular thing. I couldn't get anywhere near with my steel toe caps.
Right. Keep those steel-toed boots away from the tower. Oh, that's good to know, Sandra. Yeah. I meant the cesspool of online dating in general, I guess, is what I was talking about. But I have heard better things about Hinge than any of the others. So, and I'm just very glad I don't need Hinge. I didn't end up needing it. So, yeah, I was very blessed.
There you go.
Oh, I wanted to show you something, Steve, and maybe it would be fun for everybody else to see it. If it's not inside baseball, I'd love to share my screen and show the belief assessment that I'm working on. I'm not done with this yet, but
Okay.
would that be all right? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Can you?
Let's see if it lets me.
You able to share a screen?
Entire screen, and then this one over here, and share.
Oh, please.
Okay.
There it is.
So
That was easy.
these are the 7 categories of belief, not related to a specific topic. There are other kinds of beliefs that you can have that are around a certain topic, but in general, like the big categories, you can take any topic in life that matters to you and apply these 7 categories to that topic, and you will find very interesting things. Or I should say it's not different categories, but it's different individual beliefs. And so I've put some sample beliefs under these things. And so for instance, these are all unhealthy beliefs right now that are in the assessment quiz. And I'm not sure how to integrate with that with healthy beliefs without overwhelming people, just throwing too much stuff at them right now. So that's what I'm working on in the quiz right now. But this work comes from my, I don't know, nearly 20 years of coaching and counseling in some way or another, training, sales training, all that kind of stuff. And Brené Brown, Byron Katie, Stephen Connie Ray Andreas, David Burns, several others. But these kind of beliefs, when you find someone who's stating beliefs this way, or when you find that you're stating beliefs this way, you know that there's a limitation going on that you've accepted into your life, and you can make a significant difference with that. So for now, all this does is just you rate it, and then you can export that to CSV file. So I'm plugging that into a backend, and then we go in here like performance and capability beliefs. What do you believe about your own performance and capability? What do you believe about other people's performance and capability? What do you believe about control and safety? I need to protect myself from being hurt. Well, does this resonate 0? I don't believe it at all. Or does this resonate 7? Like I often believe this, or I believe this to some extent. Vulnerability equals weakness is one that I hear variations on pretty frequently. Uncertainty and discomfort should be avoided at all costs. That'll keep you stuck. Anyway, tons of stuff. A lot of these are, well, that's another one that's kind of similar to the uncertainty and discomfort should be avoided at all costs. Pain is bad and should be avoided is pretty similar. But what does it take to make me happy? Do I deserve to be happy? Do I need something specific to be happy? This is the kind of belief that sets you up for failure in success, failure immediately after success. Like you succeed and then you sabotage because you realize, oh, I'm still not happy. Why am I still not happy? I thought I needed X car, X house, X wife, X situation to be happy. And so I haven't built the skill of joy. I'm relying on external situations to be happy. Perception and processing, like how you see the world. I'm good at understanding other people. My interpretation is always the right one. Kind of what I think of as the Trump mindset a little bit. And yes, I know you can tell how I voted from that, but you know, if I think something might happen, it's likely to happen. My first impression tells me everything I need to know. I should be able to handle and process all information perfectly. stuff like that. This has been tremendous fun to put together, and I am a long way from no, that's probably demonstrating a belief on my part. I am not done yet. I don't have my MVP ready to go, but I'm going to get it ready fast, and then I'm going to iterate into the next things. So that's kind of where I am. That's part of the intake process of the Forge, but I'm trying to turn it into a quiz rather than a coaching session. So it's been fun.
Justin sounds like he's just about to say something.
I'm curious. I mean, seeing quizzes like that, I've done stuff like that. I've done, done kind of a therapy intake session where you go through questionnaires and that kind of thing. I always struggle with that subjective grading of some of those concepts, like the self-worth, for example. Like you had 7 out of 10. I know you were just clicking and the data's irrelevant, but when you're actually trying to answer that question, like I've always struggled with like selecting the right answer. I mean, and that's probably one of the limiting beliefs. Like I'm giving myself away that I have this, kind of limiting belief. But like, how do you, I guess I'm asking, as you're apparently an expert in this area, how do you subjectively grade yourself and know that you're accurately reflecting your internal state?
You do it many times.
I don't want to do it once.
Right. So that's what I'm struggling with right now is A, lowering the friction to doing it once.
Yeah.
And then B, bringing it back at the relevant times in the relevant situations. These things are highly contextual.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found with beliefs is, and why hypnosis is such an insanely powerful tool for therapy situations and counseling situations. And I call it the great accelerator, because hypnosis is learning. Like there's almost no difference between those two words in my mind. And I don't mean hypnosis is a subset of learning or vice versa. I mean, very nearly synonymous. As far as I can tell, it's congruent. And so the like skill learning, not data acquisition, but skill acquisition style learning is what I mean. So because we can recreate an experience so vividly in hypnosis, whether or not someone is like regressed to childhood, like pull out the big guns kind of stuff, or whether it's just imagine this, and hypnosis makes it much more easy to imagine it. Either way, we can bring someone into a sensorium, like the 5 senses, like into the experience, the globe of experience around them, like the Sphere in Las Vegas, that giant auditorium they have. I mean, it's more like VR than just remembering something. And so being able to put yourself in the situation mentally and emotionally, that's the only way to encounter these beliefs. Because if I am only ever in the kitchen when I remember to buy bell peppers, and as soon as I come and sit down over here, I forget all about bell peppers.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to be able to access any beliefs about bell peppers or about kitchens when I'm here or anything like that. Beliefs and feelings and mental states and memories even are highly contextual. And so putting together a process where people can get to those beliefs in the moment is that's hard, man. That's really hard. And I think that's where a lot of therapy methods break down. It's not due to a lack of skill on the therapist. I mean, half of them are above average after all. Half of anybody's below average in a certain profession, and the other half is above average, right? So there's going to be good ones and bad ones there. But yeah, replicating that emotional state, that's the hard thing, Sandra. That's exactly it. So how do we replicate that emotional state enough to access that belief? So that's the very long answer to the question. The short answer is record it over time and look at the pattern. This is an inductive reasoning thing, not a deductive reasoning thing. And that was really hard for me for a long time. I'm a highly deductive kind of guy. Some even call me reductive when they're not accusing me of overcomplicating things. But There's that you leave the feelings in the context. Sandra knows this stuff. Okay. Are you an excellent therapist or something? Wow. So there's a very much a how do we access this, and then how do we record it, and how do we do that in a zero friction or a very low friction way? An app is going to end up being involved here, but
Yeah.
I found for me, with fairly significant, like severe executive dysfunction from an ADHD standpoint, I don't have the squirrel kind of things that most people think of with ADHD, but executive dysfunction is real and crippling a lot of times. And so for me, being able to record my voice, I've got a Crush voice recorder. I press that button, the light is on, it is now recording and transcribing. And now it is uploading that half a sentence to the cloud, where I can get to it and move it over to wherever I want from there. I need to write an auto hotkey script to move it over to my task management system, but that's next. So
Squirrel.
Capture is a very big deal in this world of, I call it external ADHD or founder ADHD. When you're talking business owners or founders or freelancers, or really anybody who has a ton of different types of tasks that they have to manage in their role, whatever their role is. Like they might have to go deal with bookkeeping and accounting for 30 minutes today, and then they have 4 sales calls, and now they've got to go write 2 blog posts, and then edit the interview that they did, and then go fulfill on a client. Just anybody in that kind of multi-type of task situation, it mimics ADHD. Like, I never thought about the incredible blessing that my ADHD would be when I was depressed and overwhelmed and crippled by it as a young adult. But like, all the ways that we manage ADHD that I have learned and am learning to manage it, they all apply to overwhelmed business owners and overwhelmed freelancers and solopreneurs and digital nomads and like anybody with that whirlwind of tasks around them. Not everything that works for everybody works for ADHDers, but just about everything that works for ADHDers also works for everybody else. So it's been kind of fascinating to just think in those terms. So repetition, capture, and inductive versus deductive thinking. Like, just notice your patterns. Don't try and figure it out. You can't figure this stuff out. You have to notice it, and that takes time. You have to stop and smell the roses or the horse crap or the whatever it is to really get the nuance. Oh, this horse is not healthy. Like, okay, it's unpleasant, but it takes some reflection there.
Very cool.
It's a great.
That was a lot of answer to a short question. Did I even answer it?
I think so. Yeah. Repetition. Okay. I mean, like I said, just being faced with those questions, I could almost get anxiety just looking at those questions.
Right.
You know, even though I'm not on the hook at all. Right. Like, but like, I mean, I have felt physiological stress.
Yeah.
Over trying to do something like you had up on the screen earlier. And I'm like, just trying to understand, like, what's the skill there to like be able to capture a response that I can align, like I can feel like I'm in alignment with. I'm always like nervous that I'm going to write a 4 when it ought to be an 8, or I'm going to write an 8 when it ought to be a 4. And just like,
but
not,
if you did it
like
5 times in a row, then that 4, if you got it wrong, if there was such a thing as getting it wrong, would matter only 20% instead of 100%.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's
so there's a lot of pieces to it, but a lot of this is going to end up with a voice in, voice out, like my voice cloned AI journaling system and coaching system. That's where we're headed as fast as we can. So
very cool.
And it's all to reduce friction, like a chase you down, text you ready to talk kind of system.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. I mean, I recount some of our conversations, Justin, in terms of just in being inductive, in terms of having someone ask a question that you probably asked yourself, but when you hear it verbalized from another another person,
Yeah.
it lands differently. It
Changes
feels differently. It's
perspective.
almost like the context.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you've now gone into the kitchen, and now we're talking about the bell pepper, and you're in a place where you can deal with something.
Yeah.
And it does it, and my goal is never to be prescriptive, because I can't prescribe what I haven't what the person hasn't described. That's not good. It's not good coaching practice to assume something because you think what they've said fits into a category, and you prescribe from that, as opposed to actually hearing it from the person. More Socratic, right? You want to have the conversation, you want to find out, and often we have the answer. I really believe we have the answer.
That's very prescriptive of you to say that we don't have the answers, Steve. Wow, I'm surprised with you.
That's one of my beliefs, I guess. I'm bound to. Yeah, thank you.
Sandra says all the parts of us have the same intention, which is keep us safe based on the beliefs we formed in life circumstances. I have that belief as well. In fact, Sandra, some of the techniques that I use for belief shifting, like once a belief is identified, identification is a lot more important than rating. Like, we're not rating this for the coach's sake. We're rating this for our own sake. Like, is this resonating with me really strongly right now today? Is it resonating with me less or more later? But some of the techniques that I use are parts-based techniques, like the parts party from Virginia Satir, or the core transformation from Stephen Connie Ray Andreas, or the visual squash or visual squish, I call it, because squash people think of like an aubergine or things like that, like a literal gourd. But a visual squish, where you put the old state with the positive intention behind the old state, and visualize that in the left hand, and then you put the new state and the explicitly desired result, the goal state, the vision state, in that hand. And then I do this with hypnosis and add magnets to it, mental magnets to it. So those hands, close your eyes and hold up your hands, and those hands will come together only as quickly as your brain can integrate, using the old intent, the safety, the positive intent behind the old behavior, to switch behaviors and get to the new behavior and get to the new result, and just let that integrate. And like, that's one of my go-to techniques to address the parts of the mind that those beliefs are coming from. You could even say that those parts are the beliefs, it's like a mental shorthand for how we express those beliefs. I don't believe that I have multiple personalities inside myself, but I love Maslow. Oh man, I want to talk to all of you people forever. Okay.
So I'm just loving this too. She's that dog.
Yeah.
I hope that dog's getting walked.
We need to connect, Sandra. Like, sometime when you're not walking the dog, I am into you. And Justin, I would love to hear like user feedback from you, or not user feedback, nothing that high pressure, but like, I would love to run ideas by you. Yeah.
Sweating.
From time to time, run ideas by, like, hey, what's your stress level when you see this version of the information collection? Is this easy? Is this hard? Like, I'd be
Sure.
very interesting. Thank you.
I'll be up for that. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, that's one of my go-to techniques, is like, let's talk to these parts here. Let's thank these parts. Let's, gratitude, because all parts of us matter. All feelings are a signal. Pain is a signal that something is wrong in the body, usually in the body, or in the mind sometimes, but usually in the body. Stress or painful feelings, painful thoughts, unproductive thoughts, maladaptive beliefs, whatever you want to call them, it all kinds of fits together. And there's a reason for that. There is a valid reason for that. Okay, fine. It doesn't get us what we want, what we think we want. We have a conflict about what we actually want. We haven't taken every desire through to the natural end and played them out and like mesh them, but integration is the goal for, like, that's the difference between a comedy and a tragedy traditionally, is integration versus disintegration. And so making these things explicit, it just lets us integrate better and to know what we want, to know what we believe, to get to what we want and what we want to believe. So I don't know. I could talk about this stuff for days, so I have to be careful here.
Beautifully said. I got to say, it's been a trip, and Sandra's. Like I said, I hope the dog's okay.
It's on fire out there.
It was beautiful. I had a beep coming from somewhere there, but okay, that's cool. So
Tony, you've been very quiet, sir. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well on this or anything else. I'm not trying to hijack the water cooler here.
Well, I did have quite an interesting experience earlier. I thought I was having a meeting with one person, and then somebody else popped in, and then quite a lot of other people popped in until there was about 60 people, and I was sitting there going, this is interesting because I haven't set this up.
Right.
Oh.
And yeah, I remember I had talked to a guy who was a college professor, like a university, about scanning. So I was just kind of sleepily sitting down to this little meeting, and then suddenly there was like 60 people expecting a presentation.
Oh.
So I just come out of that really. So it was good. It went really well. I mean, it was completely unprepared. What better way to show up, really?
Wow.
I would have been better if I'd turned my phone off and things like that. But live and learn.
Did you figure out what the difference was between these two different meeting types, or did you just get double booked and not realize it, or what?
No, he was a college professor. So he had like a whole year of students.
Okay.
That he invited along.
So he had an intent that you were not aware of before.
I was just sort of, and then I mean, we had discussed it some long time ago, but I completely.
Yep.
Was this about your camera stuff?
Yeah, it was all about that, and because the students all do. I mean, it was on me, the mistake. The students all do like gaming stuff, so you can take the 3D scan of the world, you can take down, and then they can play around with it, So
I've heard of Matterport, and I was going to ask if that camera was a Matterport camera. Is that?
It is, yeah. It's like the latest
similar
one, but
okay.
I think that what's really interesting about this stuff is not because I just use their tech with like one button on it and a bit of skill, to recreate reality. But it's what you do with it after that, like whether they're like, oh, we're going to add some zombies, or we're going to, tell a story or something else. And then that kind of plays into actually something you were talking about, like with the contextualized emotional processing. So this is something that is so deep if you get into it. I mean, they could take you can take people from like one environment and drop them in another one, and I see the mood change, like with different people, and they also really bond because they feel like they've been to several places. Yeah. So
that's fascinating.
I know it was just that was the notable thing in my day. Because I was sat there thinking, well, I really don't know what this is. Is it a tech thing? They're all mic off and camera off as well.
Just waiting on you.
He's told them to do that. It's kind of like there's like a load of like wolves behind the screen ready to. What happens when the meeting time comes up? Are they all going to be like wearing anonymous masks?
Right.
What have I done?
Yeah.
Anyway, none of that. It was all perfectly just me being stupid and forgetting.
Well, and you got the experience of noticing some very rapid fire beliefs all in a row right there in the situation too.
Yeah, I had a few beliefs. That's true, definitely true. I was actually kind of curious to see where it was going to go. I realised there was no way out.
That's
It was a firing squad moment.
if they knew you were the person who was to present, sure. If you were just another attendee, you could have turned off your screen too.
Yeah, I was definitely at the pointy end.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to connect with you about VR worlds. The Forge. See you later, Sandra. The Forge that I'm building, I really want to build a full-on game world of this stuff, a full-on VR experience for a lot of these things. So I would very much like to hear your thoughts on adding zombies, so to speak. The gamification of experience is a very big deal to me. And anyway, I'd love to connect.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Steve,
I think there's going to be a lot of work in this area.
Either of you guys played the Meta Quest at all, 2 or 3?
I have put it on and done a few bits and pieces, but and I loved it.
Oh, it's incredible! It's incredible.
I take it back. I used my little sister's once. Yeah,
man, I was like nearly addicted to this thing for a few weeks. My son-in-law has one and left it in my living room, and like, I mean, it's amazing.
Like, I feel like my face would be a different shape after a week of having one of these lying around my house. Yeah,
I mean, I was wearing it quite a bit.
What's
one
the
game.
Amazing thing to you about it?
Just the depth, man. You're just in it, like like when the thing is, I played this one game. That's all I played. He had a couple of games, but I just played one. It was called Swordsman, and it's literally like the most basic game, where you literally just sword fight another, one or two characters or whatever, on and on and on. It's like it's repetitive, it's redundant, but I was just hooked. Like typically something that basic is going to get old, pretty quickly. It did not. Like it never actually got old. But I would play it.
The immersiveness takes the place of a lot of the other elements that most game designers must use to create the same engagement. Like mobile gaming is the opposite. You have to have so many bells and whistles in mobile gaming to make it work. But VR, it's like just wrap their heads in all of this and you're done. It doesn't matter. They can see the pixels. They can get the screen door effect and they're still in
it. The biggest shock would be taking the thing off and reality just comes flooding back in. It's like, it's jarring. I mean, it's like after you've been in it for a while and you're moving and things are moving and it's like, and then you snap out of it, it's jarring. Like not necessarily in a bad way, but it's like I feel like I've been there. I feel like I've been there and I take it off and it's like, it's crazy. I could really see. I'm going to tie you two together real fast. Like you're talking about like moving people into different experiences and Tony's able to map, physical reality. Like if you could link that up and put it on the Meta or on the Quest, man. I could see what you were talking about earlier, like in shifting context to shift your mindset. Like that would be a powerful tool for that.
Yeah. And having people be able to explore their own environment with the belief tools available as an overlay.
Well, and it does AR too, right? Like it does really, like it's the AR is really powerful.
That's fun. I might need to be looking at one of these for Christmas.
It's amazing, Steve. It's amazing.
I'm scared of gaming. Because I feel like I have an addictive nature with that. It would just.
Well, like I said, I was ate up with it.
The FOMO. And again, that may be on the list of the list of beliefs that you had there on Jeremy. That like you said, something about your first impression being the one that you believe, or how do you shift that? How do you shift that belief that says, oh, I can't do this because it will just,
I get addicted to things easily.
Yeah.
I can't do X things because I know I would get addicted.
Yeah.
X thing is dangerous for me because reason. Yeah, there's a lot of versions of that kind of thing.
How do you develop that strength too, that discipline? Like, I'm like, I could really get hooked on that. Let's see what that's about.
That's a great question.
I did a course at London South Bank, and it was about motion capture and all of this stuff. And that's where it gets really interesting, because you're in an environment, and you know, but even for people watching, you know, like you're there in the you're doing the action, but you're walking through a strange environment. You're a different character. You know, you can change your clothes, you change your different swords and different armor, and you know, a beard, or you're next minute you're a mermaid, and changing the environment and the person, and you're, you know, setting up you know, do little plays and films, and you don't know whether you're in it or not. It's just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Tony, have you encountered Yukai Chao and his book Actionable Gamification?
No, I'll make a note.
He is one of the foremost experts in the world for gamification. Actionable Gamification, beyond points, badges, and leaderboards.
Oh, Steve's writing it down too.
Yes.
Yeah, I recommend him so highly. One of the points that Yukai makes, and he's got a $600 a year membership called Octalysis Prime, that's about teaching you gamification and turning you into a gamification expert that can hire out as a consultant. But he has specials on it occasionally, all the way down to like $250 for the entire year. And I've subscribed a couple times. I did 2 years of it, and I think I attended 3 meetings because ADHD. There's some beliefs for you right there, I'm sure. But then but it's worth it. It's so worth it. Those 3 meetings set me straight on several things that I was going down the wrong path, or going down I was creating a solution in search of a problem, and he helped set me straight in. Yeah. It's like an Olympic level gamification master who's on a Zoom with 30 people doing Q&A once a week. It's crazy. If you are in the gamification world, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Like, that is a weekly thing to show up for.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, that's great.
Octalysis, I've come across this, and I don't know if I shared it with Justin, because at the time we had an OKR product in our business. Remember, early on in the team. Yeah, I think you were on board when we were doing the it was, I can't remember the name of the product now.
Rally Bright.
Rally Bright. Thank you. Yes. Which was gamification around teams using OKR principles. You know,
nice.
And
that's fun.
And he came up. That's years ago now, so it would be nice to do a revisit on actual gamification.
Octalysis, like, the graphics are pretty cheesy, and it would have been a turn off to me if I didn't already have his book. But that book, he talks about how when we talk about gamification, we're actually talking about motivation. Yeah. And this goes to Justin's question: how do you be disciplined? I found that to be the wrong question finally, because I've asked that question over and over and over. How do you care how do you care enough to remember the thing? And that's the wrong question for me, because there is no amount of caring that will make me remember the thing with moderate, severe, combined type ADHD. I have to care enough to set up systems when I care enough to carry me through when I don't care about the thing. Like, it's all that stuff.
That's a sound bite. That's a sound bite for next week. I'm gonna pull that out right now.
Sure.
When I don't care enough about the thing, I need a system to carry me through. Execution of the
you
thing.
Can care or you can be carried.
Wow.
Well, and that almost goes full circle with what you were saying when I joined about, and I've lost it now, but you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. I've lost it.
When you joined the call,
we were
talking about the Forged Beliefs vision. I'm trying to give you
Yeah.
a list.
So believing in something hard enough, like having a clear enough vision that you can believe in
Yeah.
hard enough that you can communicate it
To get
others
you
long
through.
enough
Yeah.
Yes.
to get you
Yes.
all through, where they can carry
Yeah.
you as well. Like that's in the world of Christianity and discipleship, there's a concept that we are not called to be Christians alone. Like we're called to be in community with others for exactly that kind of reason, that shared
Yeah.
vision, whether
Yeah.
it's a team or an entire religion full of people, or whether it's a group of enthusiasts about something that aren't on a team and they're even competing against each other, but they're still enjoying the same like sport, for instance.
Experience. Yeah.
Yeah, or the same experience. I mean, the Tough Mudder kind of thing. They're competing as hard as they can against each other, and they're just doing hard things. And that's the point, is to do hard things together. And so, like running a marathon in the mud kind of thing. All right, my nipples fell off because they got muddy under my t-shirt, and then I ran for 15 miles and rubbed everything raw. Like I'm bleeding all over. Like that's the kind of thing these people do to themselves, and you can probably tell how much I don't like the idea of doing that myself. But like that kind of like shared privation, General Stanley McChrystal says that is one of the things that creates bonds between people faster than anything else. Shared hardship.
That's what I was thinking.
Shared hardship. Yeah.
Well, hardship probably cements it further, but just shared experience. I was thinking that when you were talking about the VR, or just like shifting people's mindsets together, like dropping them in different experiences, whether it's VR or whatever, dropping them in different experiences in a rapid amount of time. You said they bond quicker, right? I mean, that's just that same thing you're talking about. Hardship makes it even that much more, but just the shared experience, shared multiple experience. It's like, I mean, it's like watching a TV show, like a reality TV show. You know, we've been watching the Bake Off for you Brits. And those people get tight. Like by the end of that show, there's crying real tears over someone else getting kicked off.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
I mean, and that's just a testament to the shared experience being, that powerful.
Yeah.
And mirror neurons. I was going to say.
Oh
that whole
wire together, wire together.
Well, it's the mirror. I guess the mirror neuron is someone else's experience, someone else's lived experience is reflected in you, even if you haven't lived it. And that's the thing whereby we when we're brought together in certain spaces, in certain contexts, even if someone else is having the experience, but you're privy to that, there's empathy, or there's something that fires in you because you see it in them. Unfortunately, it tends to be more. I mean, pain is the classic one. Someone's pain or disgust, those sorts of things in certain areas trigger the same effect in you, even though you didn't experience it. But on the flip side, like we've all been talking about, that shared experience that says, I'm going through it, I'm in pain, they're going through it, they're in pain, look at them, look at me. And there's something that just
there's a kinship.
Yeah. And that's great. That's great. And not unlike this call, actually. The dropping.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
The dropping has been super awesome. I'm not shifting gears, but I want you to share this. I want you to share this experience that I had. And I'm going to share my screen.
Well, he does that
over time too, by the way, Steve.
Yes, I know, a little bit
over time. All right.
This is a bucket list for me that Tony Pincham experienced, and he showed me a couple of pictures of his ballooning in Marrakesh.
That is
wow.
Cool.
Do you want to add some storyline behind the pictures, Tony, real quick, so we can really?
Yeah, I mean, I think Marrakesh is a really good place to visit. Obviously, the only thing from an ordinary place is obviously there's not a lot of alcohol or anything, but everyone's very friendly. There's great places to, cafes to sit, and there's all kinds of food and tea and everything else. This ballooning experience is just a paid for thing. You can they'll come and pick you up. They take you to the desert, and you just go out and do your thing. But in the low season, it kind of varies in price, but it's not an almond or a leg, and they give you breakfast before and afterwards, and it's a real double breakfast experience.
What were a couple of the high points for you, the standout moments?
Okay, so I think, well, we arrived and we just went straight up. I mean, there was no messing about, just straight in and woof. And it's just the rising, like it's so gentle, but so rapid. So you come down, and they don't want to blow. It wasn't very windy, but they know where they want to land and what's convenient. So if they start to go the wrong way, they'll drop right down, and then you're almost touching down, and then you're back up again, and the whole thing's just so gentle and smooth. Really, yeah, not like Steve's skydiving. I mean, that's just, it's not that.
Different goals.
Yeah, a lot faster on the descent, that's for sure.
Yeah, so just very relaxing, and finish off, and nice breakfast and everything else. It's just a really nice day. I'm tempted to think you could go there and do it almost. For us, you got a day of travel to get there, but you could go there, just do that and come home. If you really wanted to.
Wow.
It's not that the whole thing isn't that much money.
Wow, that's cool.
You get a plane fare for 30 to £100, and then that's like 100 UK.
Wow.
Do the whole trip, and they feed you too. So
that's amazing.
You're talking good value here. So
you all have plane fares that are so cheap to so many.
Yeah, I mean, it depends which day. I mean,
sure,
that kind of stuff. It depends how flexible you are.
Yeah,
because you can spend as much money as you like in Marrakesh. There are ways you can.
Plenty of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all there. It's just that it would actually really suit the budget traveler too.
Nice.
That's good to know.
Get over here, Justin. Go see a castle.
We were just talking about it this morning. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
All right, get Tony to send you a VR of London, and then you can stick it in the MetaQuest.
There you go.
And I guess that we'll just call it a day.
It's not the same. Not the same.
It's
amazing. I don't want to diminish it, but it's not the same.
No, I agree.
Oh, speaking of not the same but amazing, I found a YouTube channel called Pro Walking Tours.
Oh, yeah.
They walk you around various cities without talking. And it's just a camera mounted on somebody's head, or a steady cam on a gimbal, or something like that. And
I've done some of that.
Yeah. I love putting it on and just having a window into New York City or into London as I do other stuff. They're like 4 hours long walking tours, and the tour guide doesn't talk. They put captions up sometimes. You can turn them on and off, but it's just city ambiance, and kind of, I've gotten a much clearer idea of what I want to do when I go various places because of this Pro Walking Tours on in the background when I'm not at this computer. Because this is
I put a walking pad in front of my TV. My TV's 65 or whatever, and I put my walking pad right in front of it, and I just stare up at it and walk, and I'm going where they go, and it's
I did not understand. What is a walking pad? Is that like it's a treadmill?
It's like a treadmill with no arms, and
Okay.
So I'm walking as it's moving. I'm walking with it. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't walk 4 hours on it, but put it on for half an hour or whatever and walk around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
That was Steve. I mean, you remember when I first started? It was when I got back from New York last year with the walking. That's one of the first ways that I kind of started the walk. I'd throw the walking pad in front of the TV and do that. Yeah,
that's super cool.
That's special. Actually, thank you for the suggestion on the Pro Walking Tours, because again, that would further cement my vision.
Yes.
Because now I'm going to be walking this. It's not quite the same as Tony delivering me a 3D experience, a virtual walkthrough, but certainly it gets me one step closer to imagining the ambiance and where, what to look out for, what to think about. Oh, passing that shop or down that street.
I think psychologically you get much more out of like a walking tour. Stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you a feel. Even the people.
Why do you think Peloton has a $2.5 billion market cap now?
Yeah, right.
Like that's what they've done effectively.
I'll say too, there's like nature walks too, which Steve, you've probably done some of that with the bike, similar to what he's talking about with Peloton.
Okay.
But they've got, I don't know about pro, I don't know the different accounts, but I would do nature walk type stuff too, which is, not as the same as being outside. We should all get outside. I'm not trying to diminish that at all, but but they've got nature trails in, national parks or, the mountains and whatever. It's, once again, it's not VR and it's not the same as being there, but it's, if you're going to get the 10,000 steps, yeah, it's better than like staring at a wall, right? Like, if you're going to walk, which I'm going to, then it's better than staring at a wall for sure. It's probably better than staring at YouTube. It's probably better than staring at random other content. Honestly, like brain rot content. It's because you do get an experience from it, even if it's not natural or real. It's something. It registers, like you said, Jeremy, on a spectrum.
Yeah. I was going to give Justin another a kudos shout out, because when I compliment him, I want to see how well he receives the compliment, because that I just lost the thought of what I was going to compliment.
Just as like my body is ready.
Actually, I mean, you've approached this lifestyle change for you with systemic things that make it possible and easy and functional to do it. It's not, I mean, there are, and I'm sure there's people in your network, people who see you and go, oh, you've changed, you look different, you look different, you may even be you've gone through this, because transformation isn't just about, isn't about what people see has changed in you, but what has actually changed in you. Right, and they don't see. So, people go, "Oh, you must have done," and they'll assume what you've done to get to where you've got to, and then you'll go, "Well, that's only, you don't even know the half of it." And you've put in processes, you've put in things, like to what Jeremy was saying, is that when you don't want to do it, the system is in place, in the right headspace, it still gets the attention that it needs, or it gets done. So kudos again, bro. I mean, this is real list of creating vision and supporting it with beliefs, and then getting the S done,
Gents, I've got to go. I've got to go too.
I want to, because I could talk forever, but this has been so much fun. I'm going to pull some reels from this, because there's some real nuggets tonight. And
y'all are some fascinating people. I want to connect. So what's the best platform to connect? LinkedIn? Is that where you all found each other?
Start there. Yeah, I would say start there. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Justin, what's your last name, if you don't mind?
Workman.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll do a little comment post with everyone that joined in, and then you can connect from that. Tony, thank you again for sharing the pictures, bro. I know I got a slither of what went on. Jeremy, thank you so much. He's had to go for another meeting, but that's been great. And Justin, man, you're my rock, bro. Pop. Pop.
I've been doing that motion, because people are like, what is it? Is it, like, what are you going to be? What are you pop? It works really well.
He's a new granddad. I don't know if you joined us on that call there, Tony, that Justin's a new granddad. Yeah.
Oh yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
yes.
that's good. Guys, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for those listening in, catching the replay. This is a good one, a good one. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get some get some reels out there and share some of this stuff in other ways. Comment, like, subscribe, connect with us, and all that
Missing
good
Mr.
stuff.
Whiskey, aren't you?
I'm channeling Mr. Whiskey. I've got no hat on, but I've got Mr. Whiskey in my head.
Yeah.
All right, guys.